Hello, hi, and welcome to this episode of the Mandy Meyer podcast. As per usual, this is the podcast where we chat all about your health and fat loss, your health and fat loss progress, and how you can achieve all those goals that you are working on. I know that many times it can be a massive struggle to stick to your calorie goals, whether you're tracking calories or whether you have a nutritional plan. At the end of the day, it does boil down to sticking to calorie goals because for fat loss to take place, you have to be within a calorie deficit, right? So again, I know it can be so difficult to either stick to your nutritional plan or to stick to calorie goals if you are tracking those pedantically. So in this episode of the podcast, I want to chat to you about a couple of things that I would do if I was struggling to stick to my calorie goals or to stick to my nutritional plan, because oftentimes people will blame themselves. Maybe you will blame yourself for not having willpower, for not being motivated enough, for not being disciplined enough when it comes to sticking to those nutritional goals. And oftentimes there can be a couple of other things that play a major role within your adherence when it comes to sticking that. So let's chat about what I would do. And I say what I would do only because I have been through all of this before. I've struggled to stick to calorie goals before. I've stuck to calorie goals before. I've lost 40 kilograms. I've maintained that loss. And the things that I'm going to chat about now are maybe things that a lot of people might not necessarily chat about when it comes to your calorie goals and adherence thereof. So let's get into this. Here are 4 things that I would prioritize if I was struggling to stick to calorie goals, targets, nutritional plans, whatever it is. Number 1, sleep. Okay, this is something that many people don't chat about. But if your sleep is skewed, like if you're not sleeping a lot at all at night, or if the quality of your sleep is not great, that, my friends, is going to affect your adherence when it comes to your food choices, when it comes to how much you're eating, when it comes to your snacking, and all of that is going to affect your overall calorie consumption. So why is sleep so important when it comes to adherence? Well, number 1, sleep is super important when it comes to the regulation of your appetite hormones. So the better your sleep is, the longer your sleep is, the higher the quality is of your sleep, your hormones, your appetite hormones are going to be more regulated. Think about this for a brief moment. Maybe after you've had an horrendous night of sleeping, right? And you've tossed and turned and you haven't slept well at all. What do you feel the next day? Besides being lethargic and lacking energy and moeg and tired, maybe you feel slightly snackish, or maybe you feel extremely snackish. And a lot of the times that's because your leptin and your ghrelin, which is your 2 appetite hormones, are totally out of whack. And when you're not sleeping good or enough, you've got an increased level of ghrelin within your body. And your ghrelin signals hunger. And immediately, if you're not sleeping well, there's that increase in your appetite. And a lot of the times, we're more snackish. So again, if you're not sleeping well, it really does affect your appetite hormones. Then we go back to what I've mentioned already. You just feel lethargic. You feel like you're lacking energy. And oftentimes, when you're feeling that way, you then tend not to make the most calculated food choices, okay? And I'm just touching on the tip of the iceberg here. It goes a lot deeper than that as well, because like I said, your sleep can play a major role within all your actions and your behaviors, or actually let's say the lack of sleep plays a major role within, you maybe not actioning things the way that you want to action things throughout the day because you're just too tired to do them. So if you are struggling to stick to your nutritional plan and you're struggling with your food choices and maybe you're still over-consuming a fair amount of food, try not blame your lack of willpower or your lack of motivation or your lack of self-discipline with immediate effect. Right? Because now you're running yourself down for something that is maybe caused by a lack of sleep. So have a look at your sleep routine, have a look at the sleep quality, have a look at how long you're sleeping every single night, have a look at the consistency of your sleep pattern as well. Because oftentimes it may just take that you need to tweak your sleep a little bit more and a little bit more consistency within the tweaking of that sleep, and things start working out, immediately your appetite might start subsiding. So again, have a look at that sleep. And I know that I've definitely chatted about sleep on various episodes of this podcast. So if you haven't listened to any of the episodes of the podcast, and this is the first episode that you are listening to, do yourself a massive favor and start listening from episode 1, because you are going to learn so much. And then the second thing that I would actually prioritize is exercise. Now, I want you to listen carefully here and understand this. I'm not saying you need to prioritize exercise from a fat burning perspective, right? So let's say you're struggling to stick to your nutritional plan. What I don't mean is, oh, now you need to exercise to burn off the extra food that you have been eating. That's not what I am saying at all. I'm speaking from a mindset, from a mental perspective when I say prioritize exercise. Whether that be going for a walk, going for a run, going to the gym, whatever exercise you enjoy doing or exercise you foresee yourself enjoy doing, prioritize that, because it really helps boost your mood. And the moment when your mood is at a higher level and you are in a better mood, all of a sudden, you want to start sticking to doing those non-negotiables. And I've noticed with myself over the years, the moment I get into a decent exercise routine, whether that be going for a walk, going for a run, going to the gym, whatever it is, the moment I'm doing some sort of activity, immediately that flows over to my nutritional choices. Right? So again, if you're struggling to stick to that nutritional plan, maybe look at implementing a couple of exercises. Walks, for example, if you're just starting out, because I can tell you now, they are such a game changer when it comes to your mood. Oftentimes, doing some sort of exercise can also help reduce a little bit of stress or anxiety. And when you're feeling less stressed and less anxious, what do? You tend to turn to food a little bit less. So again, that's going to help you control your nutritional choices, right? So again, not from a fat burning or a calorie burning perspective, or to burn off the food that you ate yesterday. No, not from that perspective, but from a mental well-being perspective, from you being in a better mood, an increased mood, which is going to flow over to the rest of your actions and the rest of your decisions and the rest of your choices for that day. And you're just going to want to show up for yourself once you've done that exercise. Then the third thing that I would look at controlling if I was struggling to stick to my nutritional plan is definitely my surroundings and my environment. Now, this plays a major role in your food choices throughout the day. If you've got snacks lying around within the house, especially within spaces that you can see them or where you know that you go habitually to get them, oftentimes it's going to be in the back of your mind consistently, and you're going to struggle to focus that day without thinking about those snacks in the snack cupboard, right? So again, this can be something difficult to do, but really have a look at your surroundings, your environment. Now, again, this might not necessarily just be within your house and within your snack cupboard, but even your environment where you're hanging out, for example. If you know that there's a lot of peer pressure and there's a lot of, I want to say, forcefulness within your social circle, maybe, just maybe, practice saying no a little bit more. So even, again, like I say, when it comes to your snack cupboard at home or to the snacks you keep around at your house, try and look at minimizing those where possible so that you're not constantly reminded by them. Then if you know that your environment or your surroundings when you go out is quite forceful and there's a lot of peer pressure, decide what you're going to have before you go out, and also be intentional about your decisions and practice saying no. Even if it is, I know this sounds so silly, but even if it is in front of the mirror, practice saying no in those situations where you are in a situation of being pressured by your peers around you. And then number 4, the fourth thing that I would definitely focus on if I was struggling to stick to my calorie goals or my nutritional plan would be planning. Okay, now that would be planning of my food choices, that would be planning of my calories, that would be planning of my day when it comes to the food choices, as well as planning of my week. When it comes to my weekly calorie goals or my weekly food choices, I would set up a list of things that I intend on eating for every single day of the week. And I might even take it a step further further and actually prep some of my meals for the week, whether it be prepping a big salad to keep in the fridge in case of an emergency, or whether it be prepping a big bowl of, I want to say, protein, maybe some shredded chicken, maybe some ground beef, maybe chicken pieces, for example. Have some sort of backup maybe in the fridge, whether it comes to that salad or that protein that's been pre-cooked already, or take it a step further and actually prep some of your meals for the week so that it is there, right? Oftentimes when it's there and it's prepped already, it really makes the decision-making process a lot simpler. Because why? Because you've already made that decision in advance and you've already prepped those meals in advance, okay? Please don't underestimate the power of planning, okay? So again, that is something that I would focus on if I was struggling to stick to, say, my calorie goals, for example, is planning. I would go as far as planning when I'm going to have those fun foods, what fun foods I'm going to have, what time of the day I'm going to have them, what days I am going to have them on, okay? Now, I know that planning sounds very, very OCD, but it has to be to a certain degree if you're going to stick to these plans, because you're giving yourself the structure, right? And when you have more structure, you feel more in control. So let's quickly recap those 4 things. I would say definitely number 1, focus on that sleep. Number 2, look at incorporating a little bit more movement exercise of your choice. It's really going to boost that mood. Number 3, have a look at your surroundings or your environment. Ask yourself what's in your control in that, what can you remove within that area, and try and just say, for the lack of better words, clean it up a little bit where possible, especially if you are struggling with the overconsumption of snacking. And then number 4, planning. Don't underestimate the power of planning, because like I said, you just will feel in so much more control when you have got a solid plan of action. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you like I usually do. Keep smiling, keep laughing, and keep being kind to one another. Much love, your friend who has also struggled with her calorie goals in the past before, Mandy.